You are watching the number one podcast in the whole entire YouTube wrestling community, and I'm one of your hosts, Juanzo.
And I'm your other host, John Paul Leek.
Together we are Raw Break, and it's time to close the year for the WWE, the last pay-per-view of 2020, and it's TLC, tables, ladders, and chairs, and actually not a bad show. Kevin Owens didn't win the championship like you mentioned, but at least we got a pretty good matches back to back. The show started really hot. It closes like the show also really, really hot. So we're happy. We're actually happy. WWE sent us home. Happy.
Yeah. So to say. This pay-per-view, I said a couple weeks ago it was, looking to be a really solid show on paper, but, WWE, they're the one company who can find a way to mess it up, but they actually did. Like you had mentioned, the cherry on top would have been a title switch for, on SmackDown for Kevin Owens being the new Universal Champion, but none of us are surprised the big dog retained. But, this was a really, really good pay-per-view for WWE. All the matches I thought were legit. We saw some surprises, some returns. There was a couple wasted things, here and there, but we'll get into that, as we go through each match.
Absolutely. We're going to be talking about absolutely everything. What do we like? What do we didn't like? So thank you so very much for being with us. Christmas are coming. So, we're really excited and happy that all of you are with us. Thank you for all the love that you give us. So let's start to talk about, the kickoff show. Always WWE have to do that. Half hour of the freaking promos. Who's going to win? Who's going to not? All of that crap. And, of course, they always put something together just so, you give some time for the other wrestlers that are in the main show to just prepare. And that was this. It was an 8-man tag, and it was all like baby faces, Otis, Chad Gable, Daniel Bryan, Big E, against the Liberator, Sammy, Fidel Castro, Zayn, Baron Corbin, and these two guys that should be in the main event, but for some reason they're just jobbers, and that's what you see in the picture. They're freaking upset. Shinsuke Nakamura and Antonio Luke Cesaro. This was a match that it was just to, like I said, just to warm up for the pay-per-view. Pretty much this other three guys that you see to the corners, they were just there to set up something for Big E and Sami Zayn, because remember, we thought that this match was going to actually be for the IC Championship in the pay-per-view, but they didn't do that for some reason. So that's what happens. We had to see the big moves out of the main guys, all of that. But in the end, it was just big Liberator, Sami Zayn. He wasn't even in the match per se. He was just in the outside. He was just waiting for an opportunity when you saw Big E was kind of laying on the mat. And then he gets in. He tries to go for the Blue Thunder Bomb. Nothing of that happens. No, Big E counters. Big ending. 1, 2, 3. There you go. So you will see that this will play something later on in the pay-per-view, and actually is going to play something for next SmackDown. So your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean exactly what you said. This is just because they were this match isn't really at least exciting enough or worthy enough to be on this pay-per-view, so maybe we'll book it for the Royal Rumble. I mean, that's easily where I could see them doing it, which if that's the case, give Big E the title there, because I had mentioned on SmackDown, it could be legit if you somehow make this feel special enough to draw it to WrestleMania. It'll be a good, WrestleMania match for both these guys, but I can't see WWE stretching it that long.
No, actually, look, we have this, just came out from Raw Break, the archives, this Friday, SmackDown Live, Intercontinental Championship match, Big E and Sami Zayn. Merry Christmas.
I can see Sami Zayn winning this one, but I'm saying
I really hope that. Yeah.
At least give Big E the win at a pay-per-view and let Sami, at least have a couple title defenses. Let him beat Big E, this upcoming Friday.
Please do that. Give me a Christmas present. Just do that for me. I want to have something legit. It's been a bad year for everybody. Let Sami Zayn have a good year. That's what I can just think.
Pre-taped? Do we know that?
No, it's not pre-taped. Yeah, it's because it's after Christmas and it's going to be live, so it's going to be. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, that's a good question actually. Yeah, we'll confirm. We'll confirm for Monday Night Raw and also for the Spanish version of the TLC broadcast. So we'll see what happens on that. So let's go main show. This is how they opens. Of course, they have to have the ladders, they have to have the tables, they have to have the chairs. Pretty gimmicky pay-per-view. And this match opens the night, Paul. Now, I didn't think that they were going to do this, but they did it. Drew McIntyre against the phenomenal AJ Styles for the WWE Championship. I really enjoyed this, and probably was the best match of the night for me, because Drew showed a different side of him, maybe because he's all hot, because he's going to be featured in the Broken Skull sessions with Stone Cold Steve Austin. And AJ, like you always mention, he's the best wrestler in the world because he can have a great match with absolutely everybody. And I'm not saying Drew is bad, but like he actually made Drew look even better than what he normally looks. Let's hear it from you.
Yeah, this match was definitely my favorite match of the night as well, and it was a great match to kick off the show with because it was the best match on the card. How can you get any better than this? And I feel a lot of matches, especially the one that immediately followed, suffered from that. But this was great. It had all the elements there. The guys really wrestled. It wasn't like, oh, let's roll out of the ring and start beating each other with chairs immediately. No, they actually wrestled. They used the chairs and the tables and everything when it made sense, and almost really didn't get involved until it really mattered.
Yes.
But the match was really good, and AJ, just the whole time, just going after the left knee. That was his thing. I'll do the calf crusher, in the ring of the ladder, or the step of the ladder, to add that extra, piece of metal digging into his calf. And that's what he was going after the whole night. So it's like AJ, even in a match like this where you normally see in other wrestling shows, they just beat each other up with the toys, he's still methodical and attacks the body parts.
Yes, I like that how he were playing the calf crusher on McIntyre, because he got injured some really early in the match. There was really good spots when like Drew also threw the I think it was one of the chairs right at AJ's face because he was about to dive. That was also extremely great. I really like that spot a lot. So you see like the intensity, like McIntyre dominated throughout the first half of the match. I really like that. So then you kind of we were hinting. People were saying that there was going to be the Miz could try for to cash in, and then Omos also got involved. Omos is the the bodyguard from AJ Styles. So that was really cool too, and the Miz got involved into this. So you see that right there, he gets involved with John Morrison, and actually he cashes in the Money in the Bank, and it becomes a triple threat match. Do I like this? I was the only reason that they will do this if the Miz is gonna actually win. But like you said to me, it's nah, it's not. No. Drew is the champion. Drew is the guy. They trust him. Even that was the whole thing throughout the whole interview with Stone Cold Steve Austin is you're the guy. So I don't know if it's worth it to use the Money in the Bank to wasted it in this manner, but that's what they did. And then you saw Omos also getting in the action with Morrison. He got the spot with the chair, and then it broke. That was cool.
That was funny. We went, and then he chased off Morrison, like you said. But that was one of the only complaints I had. But see, they put the Money in the Bank briefcase on a loser to begin with. The Miz, he has the show on USA Network. It was good when it was on Otis because it was oh, this is the feel-good story, but they had no plan. They took it off him, gave it to Miz, still had no plan, and it was wasted. The Money in the Bank, to me, hasn't felt legit in a long time because who had it before this? Brock Lesnar. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel special. It doesn't feel good. So, that's going to just continue. But I'm happy that the person who had it didn't win because I wouldn't have want to see the Miz be WWE champ to begin with. So
yeah, absolutely, I agree with you. The one spot that it was really cool by Omos is almost the Miz was about to win the WWE championship, but then almost stopped him from doing that, and then he grabbed him, he had him like a baby, and then he threw him onto a table right there. Boom, poor Miz, done. And yeah, it was a good idea they should have never put the thing on the Miz, or like you said, if they would have never had a better winner for the Money in the Bank, they should have never done it on Otis, just because it's a wasted opportunity for anybody. That could easily be in a great storyline, and the fact that they just wasted it like this, it doesn't make any sense for me. The Money in the Bank has a purpose, and they're not following that purpose. It's build new stars, give people that are not main event, give them the main event spot, give them a championship run. They didn't do that, but like you said, in the end, Drew McIntyre, with his opening, then he did something also on AJ, and because the Miz and AJ Styles were gonna fighting for the title, so that was cool. There was climax, there was intensity, and there was drama in the middle of this match. So you will see, like you said, at some point you were AJ's gonna win. So they made us believe that there was a point that they were gonna win like this. You can see Drew flipping the ladder on the AJ and also the Miz, and then the Miz fell out pretty well. So he was still standing, but then he delivered the Claymore kick, and then Drew McIntyre climbed, and then he gets the the WWE Championship. He retains after a really grueling match, really violent, and I like this because he was still wrestling, but still the uses of, like you said, the toys. It made sense. I like that. So your thoughts on this? You wanted AJ for a minute, but now you see Drew. I think he's the right winner. Everybody's saying that.
Oh yeah, Drew's definitely the right guy. He's gonna hold this belt until WrestleMania and hopefully after. I can't think of at least a legit opponent for him, for somebody who I'd want to take the belt on Monday Night Raw. Maybe Keith Lee at some point, but I don't know how they're going to book that story with both of them being baby faces. Maybe they turn Lee, but no. Drew McIntyre was the right winner here. And like you said, I love the exchange at the end. AJ goes to grab the belt, and then The Miz, almost rips it down, and back and forth. It was just really exciting. But in the end, we got the right winner. And, like you said, we've all said, Stone Cold said, the guy, Drew McIntyre.
Oh, yeah, exactly. The spot, this is beautiful. I just wanted to show you. Look, we kind of didn't have time to put it, but this is a pretty good spot. Like you said, attacking the knee, all of that. Like AJ was able to isolate the big man. And that's how you have to fight, and you're sure. If I'm fighting Jean Paul, I'm pretty sure, but he's fucking tall. So that's what I gotta do. I gotta isolate his legs. That way I have a legit chance. So I really like this. When they tell me a good story, that's when I'm gonna pop. That's what I gotta tell you. Like when they make sense with everything that they do, and hopefully WWE tries to do something better for this 2021. And this is a good start, like I said to this. Let's go move on, Paul, with Roman Reigns, of course. We're talking about the big dog or the tribal chief or the head of the table. Paul Heyman just got a promo with Kayla Braxton, and he pretty much says that Roman will still be the Universal Champion, and it's not a prediction, it's a spoiler. Is it needed? No, but they need to fill 3 hours of pay-per-view, so of course they're going to give us something unimportant. We're correct?
Exactly.
Yeah. Should we move on? Let's move on then, Paul. Well, let's talk about the Women's Championship match, and that is Carmella going against Sasha Banks. This match was actually not too good, and you said that you said it for the right reasons. You said it's difficult to follow such a intense and climactic match. What are you gonna do if you don't have the right tools to go after this? And Carmella and Sasha, the feud was great, but is it worth it, or is it more worth it than Drew and AJ Styles? No.
Yeah, there's no match really on the card that could have followed this, so they're just any of them. I was actually thinking this was going to be the Raw Tag Team Championship match, the New Day and the Hurt Business, and then they did this match, and I thought, this was one of them I could have saw being maybe towards the end of the show. They're really behind Carmella, her return, Sasha Banks, legit ending Bayley's title reign. So I'm like, this is a story that I thought they had a little bit more in, but maybe they thought, let's just do it right here. But this was legit for me at the end. I thought it picked up a little bit. I thought it was good, like the spots at the end. But in the beginning, it just, it was really slow. Like you said, this match isn't that good, especially following with what we saw, which not only was a great match, but the best match on the card.
Oh, yeah, like that. It made it more difficult, especially because we've said this a couple of times. Carmella is not the greatest wrestler in the world, but she's getting better. So in order to give me some action worth it after AJ Styles and Drew McIntyre, you needed to give me something a little better. But, Sasha tried her best. Carmella did the same thing. Like you said, it picked up towards the end. You saw, Carmella tried, a lot of pinfalls, so that was cool. I like that. You saw the story was there, and for that reason, Carmella tried the super kicks. She tried, also a submission hold. She was trying that. Also, there was intensity from Banks. She did, the Three Amigos. She did, the frog splash. Of course, she has to imitate Eddie. Everything she does. And they always have to say, oh, yeah, she loves Eddie. Okay. Did she deliver a great frog splash? I don't think so. I don't know what you thought about that, but I didn't think that. And then, of course, Carmella did the Code of Silence. This was good. I like that. At some point, I thought actually Carmella could have won it. Just because of, there were rumors that WWE was going to punish Sasha Banks because of the stuff that her cousin Snoop Dogg is doing. So I thought maybe, how WWE are, but in the end, right there, you see the frustration because Carmella tried for every single mean possible to win. She couldn't, and then at the end, we saw, the Banks statement, and then, of course, Carmella, had to tap out, and that was it. And Sasha Banks retained the championship, which is the best thing right now because Sasha Banks has been having a great year alongside Bayley. So I didn't think that she was going to drop the title to Carmella. So she retains. We'll see what happens next, though. I think the feud is going to carry on all the way to the Royal Rumble, though.
Yeah, I would have had this match end a little bit differently just to really have the feud continue because Carmella tapped out. She's like, oh, I'm better than you, Sasha. You're fucking bullshit. And then she goes to almost do a face buster, but then Banks reverses Banks' statement, and then she taps out. Clean. It was no interference, no screwy finish. I would have had it where, throughout the match you had her liaison or like whatever. I forget what they call it. Her like assistant, rather.
The assistant, yes.
And he was getting involved, and then Banks hit him with the Meteora, and it could have been something where maybe he tried to break up the pin or get involved, and he actually would cause the distraction, and then it could have been like a bullshit roll up or something like that, and then she could have been like, "You cost me the match," and fired him, and then because she doesn't need him, I felt like his interference, it honestly could have called for a DQ. We've seen DQs called on lesser things before in different matches, so it's one of those where I don't think he's needed because Carmella can carry herself on her own with her character. That's the strongest thing about her as a wrestler is her character and her gimmick. So she doesn't need an assistant or anything like that. But to tap out clean, I'm like, to me that kind of kills the whole feud. To me it's like, oh, it's over.
Let's move on to the next, right? Because
so
right.
I don't know what they'll see. I'm really thinking they're gonna set up Bianca, but to do that you'd have to turn Sasha heel. So I don't know what they're gonna do.
I think that like maybe Bianca and Banks should be for WrestleMania, like you always said, have like a longer feud, and then Carmella will be still Rumble. Give it like another opportunity, and in between that, you can see like traces, like bits and pieces of like her turning heel, and then we have the balls, the bitch Sasha Banks going against like a babyface Bianca Belair, or maybe they could do opposite. Maybe the Bianca could turn heel. We'll see what happens on that. Let's see this. Billie Kay still promoting herself. She's still trying to find somebody to be her to tag with, because every time that she tags with, she loses. She lost with Natalya. She lost with Tamina. So she goes and promotes herself. Hey, I have a podcast. Subscribe. No. That's not what she did. She said, I'm a tag girl. I've been tag champ. Hey, Asuka, like, when you're gonna give me a chance? And Asuka says, no, I'm good. I have my tag partner already, but you're not ready for Asuka either. So. It kind of sucks to be Billie Kay right now, Paul. I don't know why. I don't know why they, like you said.
And also you have Peyton Royce coming out as with Lacey Evans on Main Event.
Yes.
So it sucks to be both these women. To be honest. So.
And it's a lazy idea that you did when you split up the Iconics. Like I will say that, and I agree with you. Like it's just a bad idea. So now let's go to like one of the first surprises and a pleasant surprise. It was a happy surprise. Let's go to see the the Raw Tag Team Championship match, and that's the New Day going against the Hurt Business. And because you are like the main guy for Monday Night Raw, you always cover it. Like I know you're really happy because you've been saying this for weeks. They need to put the titles on the Hurt Business. They need to put that. Why? Because they give them more legitimacy. They're even better, and also like the stable gets even like more solid. This is more validation for these guys, because alone, like the New Day are always great wrestlers, but also Benjamin. Would you say that Benjamin is not a good wrestler? No. And Cedric Alexander, he only needs belt. He only needs gold. I'm sorry. He only needs gold because the validation is right there. As a wrestler, he's spot on in every single thing he does. So I'm really happy with what they did. But of course, did you like this spot? Did you like Charlie going a New Day and all of that, the tag team champions? I really like this just because at least Charlie, like, she looked a little sexy in there. Good stuff. They cut a regular promo and they still tease, oh, it feels so empty without Big E. It's like they should never talk about Big E anymore. He's like, it's the split. They're split. Let him do his thing, and then they can do their own thing. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, with what you said about Charlie, that was probably the only good thing about this. But other than that, no. I mean, we don't need the promo. You have the Hurt Business. They just come out to the ring with MVP, and they're like, oh, yeah, the Hurt Business. Okay, whatever. Then we see this whole backstage thing with the New Day, and it's so long and it's drawn out. And it's like, this is why, you have a lot of people over the age of 12 years old who hate the New Day. Kids love them because, they're funny and they play an instrument very badly and they throw pancakes, it's funny. But like anybody with an actual thinking brain is like, no, these guys are just so overexposed and just so bullshit. And no, but I mean, when the bell rings, thankfully they are legit, and we did get a legit match. I thought everybody in this thing looked good. They even Shelton, who is, they say, oh, it's been 17 years since he held tag team gold. But even though he's held tag team gold in other companies, they just refuse to acknowledge those other companies.
But to acknowledge any other.
Yeah, company. But I mean, Shelton to me is legit. There's a couple times where I was scared. I thought Kofi was going to pin him, and I'm like, oh my god, no, don't do this. But the Hurt Business, they looked good. They they made the comeback and they won this thing, and it was. And I liked it because you got to think, there's so many big spots in AEW. People do all these moves and they pop up from stuff. But the biggest spot in the match was the superplex. Kofi was down. He was like, and then Shelton was setting up, for his finisher, whatever. But Cedric tagged himself in. He hit the lumbar check, 1, 2, 3. Kind of stole the pin, but that was overshadowed because they were like, oh, we won anyway. Like, Then Bobby Lashley came out, so that was legit. I like that picture. Yeah, I like that. And Shelton, he was kind of like looking at Cedric, like, okay, kid, like, when they were on the stage here, because Cedric was really mouthing off. He was screaming. He's like saying how legit he is and how legit the group is. So, like you said, the cracks have already formed a little bit. I think this is going to be something like I said to you. Cedric, to me, is the Rock of this group. If you want to, compare them to the Nation, I think they're going to use it to really boost Cedric.
Yes, I agree with that. I think that he's going to break off, unfortunately, but I just want this team to, this staple to stay together.
So do I. I would want them to stay together for at least a couple months.
Yeah, because imagine if you will put some kind of championship on MVP, at least. Everybody has gold. It looks good. Even Bobby comes out with a suit. Everything feels legit. It's so much more, even better than to see the Undisputed Era sometimes. For me, because it's 4 guys that are so talented, and all of them have gold, but also remind us a little bit of that Nation of Domination. That in a more, I will say, the fashion better way, they carry themselves even better. Is not as they just try to be, a group that kicks ass and wins stuff.
Yeah. See, now you want to know we talked about Money in the Bank. See, MVP being the United States champion and Bobby Lashley having the Money in the Bank, cashing in and pinning Drew tonight or some other night. That would be a legit thing. That's how you make a star.
Thank you. Exactly. That, and also, you validate Bobby Lashley. It's hey, you never won anything meaningful, right? You being IC champ. Do people know that you did that? No. Do people know that you're the United States champion? No. But at least you win Money in the Bank, and then you cash on Drew. Good stuff. I like that idea. See, that's why they should hire you to do those things. But now let's go. Next time that we will meet on pay-per-view for WWE will be the Royal Rumble. Like Paul said in the SmackDown review, they should need to start building for this ASAP. They should have been a little bit of seats alongside. Because of this, it was necessary. But next time we will meet on pay-per-view, family, it will be for the Royal Rumble, January 31st. So now, Egg and I will be right here, Jean Paul the Egg. So let's talk about a little bit of a promo by Sami Zayn and Kayla Braxton, because Kayla leaked an audio of Sami Zayn right in the middle of the Sami Awards and all of this story playing one more time. But what was remember what we said in the kickoff show, and we said this match was going to be set up with Big E. So they still playing this. So I'm really hoping that there's not a title switch. I'm really scared that the Big Liberator is going to lose the only thing that makes him legit in the eyes of everybody. We know he's good, but the title always makes him better. So I really hope that this is not what happens. So now let's move on to tag team championships from the women. It's going to be Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax defending against Asuka. Lana not in the picture. She was pulled from TLC. The plan was always that. So people don't ever think that she was going to actually be part of the match. That was never the plan because it was going to be a big return. Am I right, Paul?
Yeah, and I texted you, it was one of the things you had a couple people speculating, is it going to be Mandy Rose? Is it going to be Dana Brooke? Is Lana just going to return? And it's no, she's back. And it's no, it's not going to be any of them. But, if you combine all of their skill and multiply it by 10, you'll get the woman who actually came back, and that was Charlotte Flair. And I had said it to you, there was a bunch of rumors. They said she's ready. And, she was going to be here. They don't know whether it was just to be backstage or what. But, hey, if Charlotte Flair's in the building, and, of course, they had to have Ric Flair in the building as well, you knew she was going to be there to wrestle. So she returned, and that was a legit for Asuka because it's a cool partner, and it sets up now something for a feud. And it's one of the things where it's do we really want to see Charlotte in the main event? And I'm going to say yes, because have we seen a legit challenger for Asuka's belt?
No.
We have been complaining for weeks. We said that the Raw Women's Championship is an afterthought.
Yes.
The only thing people care about is Lana going to go through a table this week? What's going on? That's really the only thing for the women's division on Raw. So Charlotte coming back at least adds another piece to the main event. But, this match was all right. I think Shayna Baszler she's pretty much the dumbed down version of what she used to be on NXT. She's definitely not as much of a threat. She's still a powerhouse. She's still badass, but definitely not what she used to be. Asuka looked good. Charlotte, I think she looked not as good. But especially because really the last thing I think of as Charlotte was like the triple threat in your house and the match at WrestleMania, and then seeing her tonight, she looked good, but I don't know. What did you think? Maybe it was who she was in the ring with.
And I agree. To me, she looked a little dusty. She looked like a little the spots were a little rough at times, maybe
like
because
the ring rust, as they say.
Yeah, the ring rust. Yeah, like to me, like rusty. That's the word. There you go, rusty. I think that she looked a little like stiff, like that. It hasn't been in the ring for quite a while. It was like 6 months. The last time that she was in the ring was June 22nd. So yeah, it makes sense that like she didn't look as good. And like you said, well, Nia Jax, is she going to produce something great with Nia Jax? No. Shayna Baszler, I agree with you. Like she's a shadow of the Shayna Baszler that we got used to it on NXT, and it's just sad to see that they don't see anything great on Shayna Baszler, and they missed out the thing with Becky. Like they should have given. That's when the time that at WrestleMania when she should have won the championship. They didn't do that. So Charlotte Flair coming back, you knew there was going to be a title switch. You just knew. So it didn't make sense. Yeah, I guess.
What did you think of the ending where it was like, oh, she had the Kirifuda clutch, but then it was on. I believe she had on Asuka, but then Charlotte tagged in, and then she had on Charlotte, and then they almost recreated the spot where Becky pinned her at WrestleMania.
They did at the same spot. Yeah.
I like how Shayna let go. It was like, bitch, I'm not doing that again. And then she went for it, and then missed it. And then she hit the natural selection, which wasn't a very good-looking natural selection.
No.
And then that's how they actually got the pin. So I was like, But, like I said, this is the female modern-day version, I guess, of Flair and Steamboat. It's Flair and Asuka. So, the rivals, the friends, this is legit. They're the two, best women, I think, on Monday Night Raw. So I don't know if this is, it's, again, you're taking the titles from two single stars and, putting them on two more single stars.
Yeah, no,
I really don't know what they're doing.
That doesn't make sense. I don't like that. If we're talking about this, where the title should go, why can't we put the titles on the only two girls that right now, as of now, they've been attacked for the longest time, the Riot Squad? Why can't
and tell me which would have been a more believable team for the Riot Squad to beat? These two or Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax?
Yeah, exactly.
So now you put them on like you took them from like a team that is pretty unbeatable to a team that should now be unbeatable. Like nobody should be able to beat these two women.
Exactly. So how are they going? But you already teased it. What is the only way that they can lose those championships? One of them is going to try, betray the other one, or there's going to be some dissension in between that. Because when you put two main eventers, that's what they always do. Is one of them, and then what leads to? Who has the women's championship? Asuka. Let's recreate WrestleMania 34.
Well, they gotta turn Charlotte heel because Asuka, to me, she can only play the one character, and that's like the yelling and screaming and the dancing and having fun. And Charlotte is her. I'm not that she's a great heel, but her heel work is a hell of a lot better than her baby
face. Yes, and then also like you and me were talking about this. Another Grand Slam champion. Let's see the accolades of Charlotte. It's not that we love Charlotte, but it's her return, so why not? Let's give it like a minute or two. Like right there, 12 times a champion. And she won the 2020 Royal Rumble, and now she's a tag champion, so she's done it all. The first woman that did it all. And when it comes to championship was Bayley, then Asuka, and Asuka also won the Royal Rumble. So Charlotte and Asuka are like the most winners of everything. If Bayley will win this Royal Rumble 2021, she will join this crowd, and it will be the third woman to do that. I think that Charlotte coming back, they need her, like you said, the Monday Night Raw especially because SmackDown have Sasha and Bayley, so you have like also now a Carmella. You have other factors that you can play it into that. But Monday Night Raw was suffering big time from that. So now, Paul, let's go to main dog, big dog, tribal chief, the usual dude, Kevin Owens, TLC match.
Can they call him that on commentary? The usual dude.
Yeah, the usual dude. The usual dude because it's
tribal chief, the head of the table, the usual dude. Roman Reigns.
Roman, like I never lose reigns. That's what it's saying. Roman, I never lose reigns. Like. The match though wasn't bad.
That's gonna be a new T-shirt. The usual dude. I
like
that.
The one of the T-shirts that Roderick produces is gonna be like the usual dude. But like I said to you, this match was actually pretty good, intense. But you already said it in the SmackDown review, so please guys go watch that. You said it. Jim is gonna play a factor, and it was pretty much a handicap 201 on Kevin Owens. That's what it was. Although the action was pretty good though. I like how Kevin Owens didn't even go for the introduction.
Yeah, that confused me at first. I'm like, okay, why is Roman coming out first? Shouldn't the challenger, especially you would think, Roman, the usual dude, big dog, would want like to come out last to have that fanfare. I'm the champ. No, I come out last. But Kevin Owens jumped him, which I thought was legit because Graves and Cole even said like he's gonna need all the advantages and all the help he can get. So it makes sense. And then the match really kicked off. He was beating the shit out of Roman. Jay came out, he beat the shit out of Jay, and this match started off really hot, and then Roman took over. And I feel when Roman took over, he worked really slow, and it was very methodical pace, and it was still good, but the match went from 100 miles an hour to like 2 miles an hour.
Yeah,
and it was real slow, and it like the middle of the match was really slow. I thought when Roman took over.
Well, yeah, well, and also like Kevin Owens with the whole match he was trying to come back, and then as soon as he had momentum, well, Jimmy will get in the action. So that took away from me a little bit, just because it's like that if it is 2 against 1, he's never going to win. He's never.
Oh yeah, win. Especially like like you were saying, after Roman took over, then it was like Owens would fight back. But then Jay came because Owens like really fucked up his ankle. They thought his ankle was broke, but then of course he came back at all the moments where Owens was starting to get some offense. And, it was just, you knew. It was like, are they going to do the story where Owens wins and he fights from behind and it's so legit? No, because every time, we saw him climbing, like, he finally was able to hit the pop-up power bomb like you see in the picture. Boom, through the table. He's climbing the ladder. Oh, my God, he's going to win because Roman Reigns is selling the shit out of the pop-up power bomb. Owens is climbing. He's going to win. No, Jay comes back out. And then he kicks Jay's ass and he stuns him. And then he starts climbing the ladder again, and you're like, oh my God, he's gonna win. And then Paul Heyman.
Not legit bother me. I can tell you that. Not legit bother me because he was gonna win.
And then Paul Heyman comes out. No, Paul Heyman doesn't come out, but Roman Reigns comes out, and he grabs him again. So it's like you just knew, and you knew if it wasn't Roman, it would have been Paul Heyman. Or it would have been Jimmy, or it would have been Jay, or it would have been, it would have been Rikishi. Exactly.
It would have been Sika. It would have been any one of them. But there was no way that Owens was going to win that championship. Exactly. There was no way in hell. They would have cut the broadcast. Owens was going to win. That's how bad it. Like Roman has to win.
Yeah, but he did. So what happened? He went up to the top. He had him in the. I believe he low blowed him first. Yes, correct. He low blowed him.
Sticking out the ass, it's like,
he low blowed him with the Thanos glove, and then he put him in the guillotine, threw the lifeless body down, and he won the belt. So, hopefully, you can right this wrong. You can have Owens win the Elimination Chamber. I don't see them giving him Royal Rumble. They don't like Owens that much, unfortunately, but give him Elimination Chamber. And give me the match against Roman Reigns. And if you want to put Goldberg in there, that's fine, but you got to give me Kevin Owens as the winner at WrestleMania.
No, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the match quality.
Because tell me another legit thing on SmackDown to build for this. Big E, you could have maybe built Big E up, but you putting him with Sami Zayn. So that's unless you're going to do Warrior and Hogan. We already joked about that. Are you going to do IC champ versus heavyweight champ?
I hope not.
Yeah, I don't think so. And don't just give me Goldberg and Roman because that's a match set up for failure.
Oh yeah, no. I don't think that they will be that stupid to go with that route. I mean, there's been rumors, but I hope not because again, do you people believe that Goldberg is a babyface now? No. And if he wins, I mean, he will be automatically he will become my favorite babyface of all time if he beats Roman. But I don't see him doing that. So I agree with you. In the end, he retains the championship. They need to find. I think it will be Daniel Bryan. I think that it has to be Daniel Bryan for WrestleMania because The Rock is unavailable. So it has to be Daniel Bryan. And they will do it, 4 years or 6 years later than the match that we should have got at WrestleMania. But that's the only guy that I can see him really beat him, Roman Reigns. And hopefully they do that. But I'm seeing actually, and I hope that they do something for Royal Rumble with Kevin Owens. But like you said, now that he's lost, I don't think that they're going to give it another chance. And it sucks for KO, but that's how much love WWE has for this guy. So, but other than that, the match quality I really enjoy. Just because, Owens at least, he had momentum for most of the match. He hit stunners, so that was at least good. Roman didn't look that bad and also that great either, so that's okay. So we can always say that he won because of Jay's interference. So at least we can blame it on Jay.
Oh yeah, and also at the end, he had to punch him in the dick. It wasn't like a spear and a Superman punch, and no, he had to cheat. So I do like that. Roman is a good heel, and also Roman is a good heel because you hate him.
Yes.
So
yes,
technically, he's doing his job. The fact that you hate him and he's a heel, he's doing his job.
When it comes to the hate awards, oh yeah, like I freaking he does his job marvelously. Marvelous. It's absolutely spot on. I hate the guy. I absolutely hate the guy. And it's has nothing to do with like his character, his real life person. I just hate Roman Reigns. So now let's go to the main event that I should have. We were actually surprised by that, right? We were surprised that like this was the main event. This became like a Firehouse match.
Like a Firefly Inferno match.
Disco Inferno. There you go. Disco Inferno match. Alexa Bliss wasn't even in the pay-per-view. And this match, I have the exclusive news for you guys. This was taped. This was not live. This was taped before the match. Before TLC went on air. They taped it right away. And why? Because there was a lot of like special effects involved in the match. We didn't know what was gonna be about in the match, but like this will actually turn out to be really great. Inferno match. Last time we saw Inferno match, Paul, SummerSlam 2013, Bray Wyatt against Kane. There you go. That's like how far we had to go to get an Inferno match, and the matches that we had with The Undertaker, with MVP, all of those. But I want your thoughts on this because this was actually pretty good. I enjoyed this.
Yeah, I didn't know how this was going to be. I thought this was when they called it a Firefly Inferno match. I thought maybe this was going to be another cinematic match. It was going to be like in a house or like some kind of building or something. But then when we saw him coming out to the ring, I thought, okay, this is going to be, like a legit Inferno match. They're going to light the ropes on fire and then, we're going to get started. But they didn't. It was just a normal wrestling match. And I thought, oh, is there going to be some kind of lighters or like torches or how are they going to light themselves on fire? And then they started wrestling. They started going. Of course, the Fiend wasn't, selling any of the offense or anything. He was dominating, going for the Sister Abigail. He hit it. And, and then he, summons these flames. And then it's like, oh, okay, now, no pun intended, but now we're cooking. You know what I mean? Now we're getting things going. So, then this was good. And I like the spot where he had Orton in the chair and he had the thing of gasoline in the rocking chair and he almost lit Orton on fire. He jumps out of the way. And it was really good. And that's one thing, what you said, to go to the end of the match is how they had this. This wasn't live, excuse me. It was pre-taped. And, it makes sense when he lit the Fiend on fire and technically won the thing, not to jump ahead. But, tell me what you thought.
No, yeah, it was really good, and like you said, well, they gave the ruling of the match. They gave the rules. It's like you gotta set your opponent on fire. So we go under the same rules that you and me were always talking pre-recording. We said hopefully they do the same thing that like what Inferno match has always been. I was like maybe we don't know with WWE nowadays, but yeah, they went through that. So you see he got the belt on fire. I really like that, and like you said, at the beginning of the match there was no flames. So I was like, why is this Inferno then? And then they start playing Disco Inferno. So you see bam, 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 Disco Inferno. So then we like you said, we started cooking here. So like you saw, like I like that every time that they did a spot, you see the flames going. So that's kind of the old school like way that like they did Inferno matches. Remember Undertaker, Kane, Unforgiven 1998. It's the same thing. Mm-hmm. Every time that they did a big move, the flames will go up. Like Johnny Cash, like the flames got higher and higher, so all of that. But I like that, and like you said, this spot, like when like we have in the picture, that's where I really saw that was taped because like everybody, even Samoa Joe, move on, Randy, move on, Randy. So like you saw that like he needed like to really rehearse the thing because it would have came out wrong, he would have got on fire. So I really like that. And like you said, then Randy Orton tried to, like, for the RKO, didn't go for that. Then they were choking. The Fiend was choking Randy Orton first, and then he turned it, and then he started choking, like, the Fiend, and then he set him on fire. Right there when the match should have ended. But there was no referee. Nobody said anything about it. So you remember, like, they went, like, 3 minutes after this because he actually got in the ring, and then he got the RKO when, like, he was just laying in the ring, and it's like, oh, yeah, the match is over already. So they didn't tell us right away of that. But then Randy Orton was smart enough. He actually got some gasoline, and then he poured it on like Bray Wyatt or the Fiend, and he set him on fire. He set him on fire, and that's how we got to the end of the match. Or like that was the end right there. The Fiend.
Yeah, and that's that's the only thing that really like confused. Obviously, there wasn't going to be a ref like jumping around in the flames and shit, but there could have been a ref out like when he lit the Fiend on fire. I was confused. I'm like, is the Fiend not going to care? I thought maybe he was going to grab Orton, and then Orton was going to get lit on fire and everything. Like you said, then back in the ring, he hits him with an RKO. I'm like, does he also have to pin him? I'm like, what's going on here? But then, obviously you see this picture. He lit the whole body of the Fiend on fire. Obviously, Bray Wyatt's not laying there, burning to a crisp. So then I was like, okay, this is clearly, a pre-tape, or they did some kind of Houdini magic or something. But, I mean, this was cool. I liked it a little more than a cinematic match, but I feel like it would have been better if, like, there was a ref out there and been like, oh, the bell rang, and then you had the Fiend maybe ignore the fact he was on fire and attack Randy Orton while he was on fire, and then that's when Orton hit the RKO and burned him as the ref's trying to be like, no, don't burn his whole entire body, like, no, and that maybe the ref goes to get help. And then when they come out, they can maybe be hitting the Fiend's body with a fire extinguisher or something. Make it seem like a little more real instead of just two guys beating each other up and there's no ref, no security, no nothing.
And that's the one thing I wanted to mention to you. Yes, you're right. Like, there was no ref. There was no ref. So, like, that's...
And also for Inferno matches, I feel like there should have just been, like, the guys out there with the fire extinguishers. Anyway, because the rule is to, when your opponent gets lit on fire, the match is over. You don't have to murder your opponent by flame to win the match, though.
Yeah, so like you said, he's setting up right there. Randy Orton sets it up, boom, on fire, and then we get to see Randy Orton standing tall. So that's how it ended. But like, don't you think that like they use the same thing with like the Undertaker? It's the same concept. Like
the Fiend will appear. Maybe we won't see anything. Coming up tomorrow night, Monday Night Raw, but the following week for sure we'll see something. Don't be surprised if we see Alexa Bliss tomorrow confront Randy Orton. But this feud is going to continue. They might even have some kind of interaction in the Royal Rumble. Who knows? But I definitely see this continuing.
Yeah, you mentioned something, for example, like number one contender Randy Orton is going to, now that like supposedly, in the kayfabe world, he's done with the Fiend. He should go against Drew, try to get a rematch, and that's when like the Fiend will come back. So we'll see like if that really happens. I like that idea because it makes sense. And then you can stress this out a little more. Or like just the Fiend just returns whatever, and then we forget that this actually happened. But, this actually gets a 7 for me if we grade the pay-per-view because it was actually pretty good. Like it wasn't that long. I mean, normally WWE 3 hours, but it actually I didn't feel tired watching it. I enjoyed it. There were really good spots. And like you said, all the matches, at least most winners made sense. And there was not interference, throughout the whole match or like towards the end. I mean, Jay, but like we knew that was going to happen. Outside of that, pretty good. The only thing, like I said to you, is a shame that like the Money in the Bank doesn't mean anything anymore for WWE.
Yeah, I agree. Like, perfect winner. Like I said, Bobby Lashley, somebody like that who is just like, we want this guy to be a main event, but, we don't know how, when to push him. You give him that briefcase until you, find a moment when to push that guy. Yeah. Not somebody like The Miz, and unfortunately Otis, they had no plans for him, to win anything in the first place. They just did it because it was, funny or why ever they did it. We'll never know. But no, I agree. 7.5. This pay-per-view was really good. All the matches made sense. Cool to see Charlotte Flair come back. Really great opening match. I'm really happy for the Hurt Business as well. So we'll see. This Randy Orton, the Fiend thing, this match didn't really go maybe how I thought it would. It was, I don't want to be like, oh, this match was, not good, but like, it was interesting. I guess, yeah,
it was interesting, and like you said, they gave it to the Fiend because the Fiend is supposedly he's immortal. He doesn't die. So and like we'll see what happens.
So they give the win to Randy Orton. So yeah, we'll see.
We'll see what they do. So thank you, family, so very much for being with us. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit that bell for all notification because we're always putting content for every single one of you. This week, of course, the regular shows that you always see us. You'll see Jean Paul doing Monday Night Raw. You'll see the Spanish version of TLC, everything in absolutely Espanol. We're going to be covering some soccer in Espanol also. So more and more stuff. And also we're going to be summarizing the whole year. Jean Paul and I are going to be talking about what was good of 2020 outside of the pandemic because there were some little good things. And, what do we think 2021 is going to be for the world of professional wrestling? So, family, where they can always find us also, Paul, in the social media.
You can find us on Rope Break on Facebook, the OG Rope Break on Twitter, Original Rope Break on Instagram, and, of course, right here, the home of the #1 podcast in the YouTube wrestling community, the Original Rope Break.
Thank you so very much, family, and we'll see you guys pretty soon. You and me, one more thing left to say, and that is,
Duh.